Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian. This is my 1984 Honda 500 Interceptor. Had this bike for a long time and I'm working on getting it back on the road. So let's dive back into where we left off in the last installment on this bike and try to get the carburetors back together and get it running. So I worked my way around torquing these down, kind of compressing the rubber easily at a time at the 8 foot-pounds. Right when I got to the end, this one popped out, snapped off. So that's a revolting development. So we'll take this back off and hope we can get that stud pulled out of there, and I hope I can find a new one. A few weeks later, getting back around to this, I was able to find the correct Honda valve cover bolt. So once I get this grommet switched over to the new bolt, maybe find a little more adequate torque setting, we can start going back together. We'll start with the carburetors. Sometimes you get lucky. Not really sure what caused that bolt to snap off. Anyway, I was able to find some new ones on the internet. So they'll be here in a few days. Maybe we'll not go to 8 foot-pounds. Maybe we'll go to the 6 on the next round, but I had no issues with the front valve cover, so I'm not really sure what's happening. Carburetor setup, which is the real reason this bike got parked. Pouring out of the carburetor bowl gaskets. Of course, these are upside down now, but fuel was running out, so I have new carb kits to go in here. Nothing too exciting here. Just take the bowl off and replace parts. These should be pretty clean inside. Since I cleaned them out the last time, I've only run ethanol-free fuel. So we'll see how true that myth is. These can be sometimes a little hassle to get off here. You have to kind of fish them out. That's obviously the trick. So that thing looks pretty good. And the bowl is pretty clean too. I'll go ahead and get the rest of that crap out of there and then we'll put a new gasket in there. So these are the parts in the kit. Might as well go ahead and replace them.
I guess they would call this the slow jet or maybe the idle jet. I think we'll go ahead and replace that. I already pulled it out. Appears to be the same. We'll compare sizes. And then this would be the idle mixture screw, I'm pretty sure, which is on the side. Gasket, and then the float. So while we're here, we might as well replace all of it. Well, actually, this is the float. We'll pull it out. This would be the needle. This is what lets fuel in the carburetor. Since we have a new one, we'll replace that. Looks the same, comes with a new clip. Could probably just leave this clip on there. That part shouldn't really wear, other than I have it all twisted. Well, since it's all one piece, it should just slide on. And that can go back in. I mean, the rest of this looks spotless. So I guess when I ordered these several years ago, they were specific. So this idle jet says a 38. Also, the old one is a 38. And I don't know if you can see that, but I can see light through this one. I cannot through this one. And this is typically the problem with these carburetors. That idle jet is so tiny that it gets clogged. So we're gonna put a new one in while we have it. Let's try the right sex screwdriver to get it in there. This one's a little bit big. Might hurt a little. Let me try to find a smaller one. And then the bowl gasket, and this I know is original. And it is in there hard as a rock. And the new one, which is way more pliable. Now we just have to convince that thing to stay in there while I get it put back on. Maybe we'll let it sit here a minute, kind of take its shape. All right, that looks like it's wanting to stay on there. See if I can get it on without knocking the gasket off. See if I remember how in the heck I got this thing off. Guess just like that. Okay, it looks like the gasket stayed in there. 3 more to go. Well, this one of the center carburetors, you have to slide the linkage or twist the throttle linkage enough where that little notch lines up, and then you can get that pin all the way out. And you have to kind of hold pressure off of it. To get this bowl gasket to stay in there, I just packed it with a little bit of grease. That kind of helps it stick in there, and that won't affect it. Any grease in the carburetor, it'll burn that. The gasoline will soften it up. That won't be a problem. but it'll help just keep it in place while you fish it in. Because these things only go in one way, just like that. I finally got those cables wrestled back in there. Pretty much one of these screws all the way in. You have to wind it in. Then the other one has the slack adjuster. You pretty much have to take every bit of slack you can get out of there to be able to get the cable to roll up over and go in the captured spot. It is not easy. Matter of fact, I think I broke one of these before doing the same thing. And then you can take all the slack back out and get to where it functions. Now I just have 2 screws to put back in here, and this will be buttoned up. Also, if you've gone to all this trouble, probably not a bad idea to make sure you get full throttle. All right, we're good. I don't know why that slide wants to stick, but it should come back down. So there's all that. Next, we'll put the cooling system back. Probably change the oil. But I also noticed in doing all this, these front exhaust pipes are rusty again, so before I put all this back together, I think I'm going to sand these a little bit in high heat, primer them, and paint them and see if it'll last any longer this time. I think everything's hooked up on the radiator. Next, we'll need to put the plugs back in the block. So I got that plug started right there, and it's just about as impossible to get in as it was to get out. Pretty much have to do a reach around here on the frame rail with 2 fingers and screw it back in. You cannot get a socket in there. Really a wrench very well. So I guess I'll just keep 2-fingering it. Down here at the water pump, I think this was an 8. This is a little easier. That is an 8mm. On the right side, once you get it started, you can get a flex socket on it. That coolant's at least 20 years old. Got some of O'Reilly's pre-mixed plain old green antifreeze to go in it. I'm not sure how well it's going to take it. Figured we would start slow and let it bubble out for a while. Make sure the plugs don't leak. Hope it's not running out the bottom somewhere I forgot about. Looks good so far. Want that glug for a while. Also, the manual talked about taking it off the center stand and rocking side to side to get air bubbles out. We'll do that once we get it outside. While we're this deep into it, we might as well change the oil. Probably been 5 years. Throw some light on and see what it looks like. Probably not very dirty, I'm going to guess. Not really. And last time I did change it, I didn't have the correct Honda filter. So I'd improvise and found through the source of the internet that you could use this. I think it's a Purelator. It is. So if you're in a pinch, you can use that L14610. It'll screw right on. It's a little smaller than a stock filter, but don't know how critical that is. So we'll let that drain for a little while since it's cold. We're mostly back together. A few things left to do. Went ahead and got a genuine Honda oil filter. Trying to figure out how to get this thing open. So a box, a bag, shrink wrap. So she ought to be good and clean. So this is what we're going to put in it. Obviously I can't fill this up, but I'll put a little bit in there. Get the gasket wet. This has been draining for about a week, so should be good and drained. This is a Mobil 1 1040 motorcycle oil. You don't really want to use regular car oil in these because of the wet clutch. No, I used Mobil 1, regular Mobil 1 in this before the motorcycle oil existed, so I'm not sure if I damaged that clutch or not, but it is what it is at this point. Try to resurrect it with this. It says it holds 2.5 quarts or 2.6, so we'll get this filled up. That's about 2.5 quarts. Let's see where it puts us on the stick. If I recall, the owner's manual says unscrew it and then just put it back in. Don't screw it back in. And that should give you your level. Well, that's pretty much full right there. So by the time we start and fill up that filter, probably have to add just a little more. The battery was charged. Let's see if it still has any charge in it. We have lights. Okay, I think we'll roll this outside and then attempt to start it. So we made significant progress getting this back together. I think in the next installment, we'll get it outside, see if we can get it running. Thanks for watching. See you next time.